Dear chess friends, I'm super excited to introduce my most ambitious project so far on my website, askavrukh.com, the best opening for black against false move d4. And my surprising choice, as you can see on the diagram, Queen's Gambit accepted. Now, first of all, small story why I decided to choose this opening and in general introduce this project. Now, I noticed a lot of discussion, especially on social media, about choices against false move d4. Somehow I noticed that against false move e4, people decide pretty easily. Some people play Nardorf, other Sicilians. Some people play Rui Lopez. Many people love French, Caro-Kann, and so on. It's somehow, they decide it's very easy. But with false move d4, there is a lot of discussion, a lot of, let's say, tweets where they ask for advice. And I'm talking about, let's say, level 1600 to 2200. Somehow, people debate, like, well, let's say we want pawn on d5, should we play Slav, should we play semi-Slav, should we go for Queen's Gambit declined, should we go for Queen's Gambit accepted, or maybe we want something like with bishop on g7, Grunfeld or King's Indian, and so on, and of course not to forget Nimzo, Queen's Indian, Catalan, and so on. Now that's what kind of like gave me the idea, how about I really think what would be the right choice to offer someone who is open to study a new opening against false move d4. And after serious consideration, I decided to go with Queen's Gambit accepted, and I truly believe this is the best opening against false move d4. Now, what is my angle when I say the best opening? You probably, many of you know that there are many good openings, and they most probably, when you work hard, you see Grandmaster games, you use engine, you would equalize everywhere. But Queen's Gambit accepted, it's something which is relatively narrow. There are very simple ideas, so there is kind of like specific set of ideas, and it's not so many like in other openings. And it's easy to study. That's what's important. There are like maybe a few critical lines, and easy to play, as I mentioned, once you know all these ideas. And, well, to the question, is it the opening to play for a win? I always say it depends on white. It depends on white. I used to play Grunfeld. You cannot find more ambitious opening. But if white decides to play very solid, let's say they play g3, bishop g2, it's very hard. Or there are many forced lines. So in these ambitious openings, let's say the same situation with Nardorf, there are many forced lines where you can hardly avoid some like drawish lines or very, let's say, dry lines where like you can barely any pieces left on the board. It's almost impossible to win and so on. So basically, this angle, I don't think it's correct. So, I mean, we should have a good opening, and then it depends on white. So we'll have also very sharp lines, and most of the lines will be positional. Now, there are a lot of different sources where Queen's Gambit accepted published in recent years, whether it's Chessable, Modern Chess, books, and so on. But I promise you, nobody went so deep as I go in my files. So I truly believe, like they call on Chessable, it will be a lifetime repertoire. It will take you for many, many years. And it will be reliable, it will be solid, and if you enjoy it, hopefully it will bring some good results to you. Now, let me talk about a very specific structure, because actually it's only some recent developments that inspired me to choose this opening. Now, of course, we start with this position where we take dc4. Now, I mentioned lifetime repertoire against false move d4. I'm covering only c4 right now. Of course, you can ask, what about London? What about second move bishop g5, second move knight c3? Guys, objectively speaking, those systems are not very challenging. You'll just, it's easy to pick up one system for black, work out pretty well, like in details, analyze, you should be fine. Now, the main question always, what happens after c4, which opening to choose, right? So, Queen's Gambit accepted, c4, dc4 on move 2. Now, the first question, the very first question, move e4, which I recommended in my book, First D4 Grandmaster Repertoire, Volume 2. I switched actually from Volume 1, and very important point. I remember during my years when I worked with Vladimir Kramnik, and we had a discussion about openings, and he told me, if not third move e4, Queen's Gambit accepted would be probably the most popular choice for black on the level of Berlin. Now, everyone should ask himself what he chooses against e4. Now, not many players play e4 for white, because when you play e4, you have to be ready for 4-5 systems for black. So there is knight f6, knight c6, e5, c5, and my choice, for some people it will be surprising, but those who follow the theory, maybe not so much, very ambitious b5. So we are talking about sharp lines here. We get a very sharp, double-edged positions. Now, again, there are some lines where white can get a little bit more positional play. Now, the whole point here, well, critical line runs a4, obviously, targeting our pawn structure. We have to respond with c6, because a6 is not working, our rook on a8 is not protected. ab5, cb5, and knight c3. So, what is interesting, I just want to mention to you guys how it's developed. I remember, let's say, when I started to work seriously on the openings, it's considered to be not playable line, because I remember first time I checked, I knew that after b4, white plays knight b5, attacking pawn on c4, and if I'm not mistaken, it's already lost for black, because the point is that if we play a6, actually the knight is not really hanging, because our rook still unprotected on the a8, so white can go just bishop f4, preparing knight c7, and the game is over basically. Now, at some point in this position, black came up with spectacular exchange sacrifice, a6, knight takes b5, ab5, rook a8, bishop b7, one of the most ridiculous exchange sacrifices that in the beginning worked pretty well. There were some fascinating games. I remember the game Adiban against Nakamura, brilliant win for Hikaru, and so on. So the theory obviously developed. I think, objectively speaking, not enough compensation, although the play is very interesting. If somebody wants to surprise, might be a good surprise weapon. But I want to recommend something that will take you for many years. So here, black latest trend, queen b6. Now, we protect the pawn. Now, the play looks a little bit suspicious, but everything is very, very concrete. Now, there are two main lines. Now, first of all, I would say it's more positional, b3, attacking the pawn structure, obviously regaining the pawn. Now, in this case, we respond with e6, bc4, bishop b4, important tempo, targeting the knight, bishop d2, b takes c4, bishop takes c4, so we play knight e7, so we don't need knight on f6, and think about e5, knight f3, castle is the main move, one game knight a4, actually recent game of strong GMs, and a5, we have pretty double-edged position. I mean, we have a passer on the queen side. There are already serious amount of games of high level here. One of the big experts in these lines, Lenier Dominguez, and he had a couple of games. Black is doing very well. I mean, we target in the center, and I think I don't see any problems. It seems to me, once I mention what I mentioned in the beginning, it's easy equality. So that's what very important, and the play is very concrete, very simple, and so on. Now, going back to the position on move 7, so we have here knight d5, which looks very ambitious. Our queen is under attack. We have to play queen b7. Obviously, we want now e6. White idea can be seen from the move bishop f4. Now, looks at first glance, we are on the verge of losing the game, but here comes tactical e5. Now, the best move is bishop e5. I don't think like d5 any danger for black. Well, black probably even better after bishop e6. Now, bishop e5 in this position, and we come knight d7. Now, what's going on here? So first of all, the main idea, guys, you can see from the following line. What happens if he takes the rook? Bad things are happening for white. We play bishop before check, and after king e2 there is queen e4 mate. That's the whole point. So he cannot actually get our rook right away. So the best move, bishop f4. Once again, guys, I'm mentioning the best moves. Everything is covered around, like bishop g3, knight e2, so on. So all continuations that worth mentioning, covered in the file, and very, very deep. Now, bishop f4, so what's going on with knight c7 now? Now, we allow knight c7, so we play knight f6. The point is, after knight c7, we play king d8, knight takes 8. Of course, we start with intermediate check, queen e4, before we grab the knight. Knight e2 is the best move, queen takes 8. And we have this ridiculous exchange sacrifice. Now, in the beginning, I thought, for the first time when I saw this, I said, well, there is no way. We have also king on d8. And like very strange position, exchange, and exchange down. We don't have bishop pair for the exchange, so it's only one pawn. However, it appears that king on d8 is actually pretty safe. Now, our plan, we come bishop before rook e8. Very quickly, knight comes to d5. There is a main line where white just castles. White is able to castle, and then we have just sufficient positional play. We have majority on the queen side. We start slowly advance. We control d5. It's unbelievably interesting position. And so far as I see, it's super double-edged, and black is doing great. And I think probably scoring over 50% because it's much easier to play for black. Now, this is something important about e4 line. Guys, again, what I mentioned to you, white initiated this sharp double-edged play, and that's what happened. Now, let's talk, let's get back to the position where, of course, everyone knows at this point there are alternatives to e4. Now, I checked everything here, whether it's queen a4 check, or knight c3, or there is something with g3, knight f3, g3, but well-known main line is goes instead of e4, goes knight f3, knight f6, e3. Usually also transpose if white starts first with move e3 and then goes knight f3. So what is happening in this line? Now, I mentioned this is the main line, even though e4 is the most challenging. Why? Because as I said before, not many people are ready to study third move e4 for white, because it's like the whole opening. I showed one line, but there are 4 more lines for black, and they're all serious. Now, we play e6, and here, guys, very important to understand. So bishop c4, c5, castle, the main move, all the rest covered, queen e2, knight c3, whatever white tries to play, serious moves. Castle, guys, and here a very important moment. So that's what actually kind of like the key idea that inspired me to suggest this line. So instead of a6, which is well-known move, we actually play knight c6. So that's lately became fashionable, and white is doing very well. Now, first of all, I would like to mention to you like story that I remember this line from many years ago, and I knew that after queen e2, so I have to play queen e2 right away. So freeing d1 square for the rook. Now we play a6, but the old line actually was cd4 and then rook d1. So it's a well-known thematic idea for Queen's Gambit accepted, guys. I hope you're not surprised. So this is how we regain the pawn. So actually it was not a sacrifice, rook d1, we regain the pawn. Bishop e7, ed4 castle, knight c3. So normal position with isolate pawn, but I think it's a good version for white. Now, already sub d4, d5 potentially coming. So knight a5, bishop d3, b6. And I remember I was very excited when I analyzed this. Probably 25 years ago, I found this move. There was a game of annotated and chess based by Turkish Grandmaster Suat Atalik, and he played queen e5 and got a very promising position. And so queen is transferred to king side for potential attack, and it looks really promising until now. So that's not the line. And you know, when I saw for the first time knight c6 played by strong players, I'm like, what's going on with queen e2? So we actually respond with a6. Guys, we actually respond with a6 here. So we have a little bit kind of like a version of Queen E2, like A6 Queen E2, but and it's not the most dangerous line, so we just transpose. We played knight c6, why not? So before we move into this line, I wanted to mention one of the big advantages of this line that guys, dc5, we shouldn't really worry about this. Like I know dc5 is one of the like very annoying moves. White put pressure, risk free, and so on, and like some lines that white is trying to squeeze. It's a little bit annoying. Now in this case, I don't see any danger, so seems to me like it's pretty easy play because we are not. Instead of a6, we have knight c6, which is much more useful. So we just develop very easily, bishop d7, castle, rook d8, and so on. Very easy play here. So what is... there are two important lines that I would like to highlight. I checked everything here, like rook e1, latest trend, a3 here, and so on. Now we have... so for queen e2, as I mentioned, there will be move a6. Now, one point that I want to make in case of a4, actually just go queen c7. So that's a new setup, and then we want bishop d6, and it's interesting play. So we are not forced to take cd4 and free his dark square bishop. So we have flexibility, we have even choices, but you will have obviously a very clear choice in my file. Now this is one, another line. I would like to mention it's knight c3. Obviously, that's the main move, and in some way it's critical. a6, bishop b3, bishop d3, dc5 is here, so everything is covered. Now, the main move seems like sharp line, very ambitious line for white. d5, we play knight a5. Now, the most interesting choice for white is remarkable b3 here. Why I'm saying this remarkable? Because it's connected with the pawn sacrifice in this position. So we play b5, bishop d3, and we play b4. So it's dangerous to take e5, so we have to be very careful. Obviously, we're behind in development, so it's quite tricky. Like e5, if I'm not mistaken, e4 is coming, so it becomes very dangerous. So we play b4, so that's the best move. Now, there is one line runs knight e4, we take on d5, knight f6, queen f6, rook b1 with idea e4. So you will see that there was a very precise, very accurate game for black played by Indian Grandmaster Vidit against, by the way, the winner of Tata Steel B group Mendonca. So there was easy draw for black. Now it seems like we are covered in this line, and very interesting. Lately, I think played in December 2023, high-level game between Eric Gaisi and Vasher Lagrave, Cheparinov, not Vasher Lagrave, where d6, bc3, ef7 was played. So it's a piece sacrifice, very risky for white, because, well, there is nothing concrete, and we are just piece for one pawn, so there is no compensation. But, of course, the main point, obviously, king on f7 is weak. Vulnerable, and this line analyzed very deep with precise play. Black is doing fine, and of course it's double-edged. It's obviously double-edged. Now, so that's basically the main structure of my course. Again, e4 sharp, here knight c6, key move. Now, guys, very important question: what is the level that this file would be good fit? You would be maybe surprised to hear my answer. I believe it could be easily 1600, it could be Grandmaster. Now, everyone can take his his level, meaning that, let's say if you are 1600, you kind of like introduced to new ideas. I mean, you can do like 10 moves, at least start, although to be honest, nowadays, everyone is so well educated, 1600. I see people prepare, people play some deep lines. I wonder if they understand them, but they play very deep theory. And as I mentioned before, it's very easy to understand black setups. It's very like narrow. There are very clear ideas. So 1600, you start in the beginning with maybe few moves, then you get experience, you expand. You become a better player, you expand, and so on and so on. And obviously, as I mentioned, for high level, I have 482 novelties, improvements, mainly for like 99% for black, but also some critical lines for white, where it was important to cover and to know what we should respond. Now, so we will be far ahead of the current era existing games, and so that's my idea. So hopefully I answered the question, and I actually forgot to mention in the beginning of the video, but that's a pretty nice amount of novelties, 482. So this is what you get in this file if you maybe still debating whether it's a good fit, but when you can get such a massive amount of new ideas, new information, and detailed file. Guys, I hope you got interested. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now, if you're interested in my PGN file, please head over to my website, ask-avrukh.com, ask-avrukh.com, and you'll find PGN file. Now, I used to give different levels, started from maybe some kind of like novice level to like a little bit more advanced, but now I decided to switch to just high level files. I think it's working better for me. It's working better for like every ambitious player nowadays. Like they decide, I just noticed when there were 3 levels, only the most advanced level, people were buying mostly like probably 95% the most advanced level. So now it's advanced level, as I mentioned. It would be a great fit for anyone, for those who start getting into the theory, and for advanced players, including Grandmasters. Guys, now if you like the content, you're interested to keep updated what I publish on my YouTube channel as well as my webpage, please subscribe. I would appreciate if you leave some comment, like, and hopefully I see you very soon with more material. Thanks for watching.